free world.
Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking to stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so weak. Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking to stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so. Snuff the shooter, snuff the looter, snuff the booster, snuff the money mover. Snuff the hater, snuff the player, snuff your hairline, tape up and shape up. Snuff the shooter, snuff the looter.
Welcome to Hail to the Culture. We are back, and we are here to talk preseason football. As always, it is your boy, Rome. I'm here with my man, Bryce.
What up, what up?
Yeah, man, we got a lot to cover today, man. It's been an interesting few weeks. I personally am glad the preseason is coming to an end. I cannot wait to get to the regular season and have these games, get some meaningful games coming up here. But, yeah, man, today we're going to talk Trent Williams. We got to talk Haskins. We got some preseason standouts for you guys. There's a lot been going around the NFL. But first, we're going to start with the big news, and that is that Case Keenum has been named the starter for Week 1. I had been kind of seeing this coming from the jump. If you guys follow us here at Hail to the Culture, you know that. But, Bryce, you were very big, like most Redskins fans, you were very big on having Haskins start Week 1. Now that Gruden has officially ended the so-called quarterback competition, what are your thoughts on Case being the Week 1 starter?
Well, if anybody's been listening, they would know, like you said, man, I've been in the Dwayne Haskins camp for Week 1 starter. And it was never necessarily because I thought he was playing better than Keenum during the or even Colt during training camp. I didn't really think he was playing necessarily better than them, but I just thought the upside. I thought he had a higher upside, and I thought that the baptism by fire would work out for a guy who seems to be as mentally strong as Haskins has demonstrated to me in this short time we've had him. But with that said, I'm not surprised with the decision. This is definitely the decision I expected to come. I never really expected Haskins to be able to edge the job away from him, but like I said, I would like to see the baptism by fire, throw Haskins in there and see what he can do. I thought he had high upside, and I think on a couple throws in the preseason we saw kind of what I was talking about. We saw Haskins make a few throws during the preseason that Keenum probably just doesn't have the arm talent to make. But with that said, we also saw a few plays from Keenum during the preseason that Dwayne Haskins just not far enough in his maturation to make yet. And I think that's kind of what Jay Gruden was thinking. Like Jay Gruden said in his press conference earlier in the year, he said, if he doesn't make the playoffs, he's probably done anyway. And with that considered, you've got to respect the move because Keenum is going to make least mistakes right now, and as compared to Haskins, and we definitely saw that in the preseason.
Yeah, I agree completely. Case Keenum is low risk, but he's also low reward. Early on this year when we first traded for Keenum, I was very much against it, but it was before the draft had happened. And I'm not a Keenum guy, so I don't want it to seem like I think Keenum's going to lead us to the promised land. I see him as really no more than a placeholder. I mean, his overall record as a starter is under 500. Outside that one really good year in Minnesota, he's a very below average quarterback. But I still believe, with all that said, that he gives us the best chance to win these first few games because, like you were saying, Haskins still needs room to grow. He only had that 1 year in college. The NFL is a different animal as far as calling plays and doing the simple things like checking your protection at the line, reading the defense. It's not necessarily so much the arm talent because I think we can all see that Haskins can make plays that Keenum cannot with his arm, but it's more so the knowledge of the game. Keenum may not have been a great starter, but he has been a starter in the NFL. So the knowledge of the game means a lot. And I'm going to say this also, because part of the reason I was leaning towards Keenum over Haskins in the beginning, other than strength of schedule and all the pass rushers we're going to face, is Keenum, to me, like in that last preseason game, what I wanted to see from Keenum was just no mistakes. Like run the offense efficiently. You don't need to make plays like Dwayne Haskins can make, but you just need to not make any mistakes. And in that last preseason game, he made a couple mistakes. That interception to, I forget the guy's name, but I think it was Tack McKinley, a defensive lineman. Those are the kind of mistakes that Gruden can't afford and that Case Keenum can't afford. That's kind of why Case is here. So seeing him not necessarily dominate or play mistake-free football lets me know why Colt McCoy was the number one on the depth chart before the preseason started. And I honestly believe if McCoy wasn't hurt, he'd be starting over Keenum because Keenum hasn't really been impressive. He's just been more knowledgeable, I'll say, than Haskins. Would you agree there?
Nah, definitely, man, definitely. It's been easier for him to pick up the offense. There's been a lot to throw at Dwayne Haskins. I mean, you got to remember that, guys, Dwayne was never under center in college. I mean, very, very few times that Ohio State was under center. So he had to even learn from the drop back, calling plays in the huddle. They got most of their plays from the sideline. They were simple plays to spit out, even when he did have to call them out. So these are things that are going to give an adjustment period for any quarterback coming to the league. I think Dwayne Haskins only had, maybe a total of 13 games started in his college career. I mean, that's not a lot. It's not a lot. And, it started to rear its head. But like you said, man, it's still a learning curve for Keenum, too. He's coming from a totally different system, and it's clearly been an adjustment. But I guess Gruden felt a little more comfortable with, rolling with Keenum and rolling with the experience.
Do you think if Colt was healthy that he would have went with Colt?
Oh, no question, man. I think they had planned to go with Colt from the beginning. I think that Keenum was initially brought in to be an insurance policy for Colt because, judging off Colt's history, we know he gets hurt. I think that's kind of why Keenum was really brought in, just to be that insurance policy in case that – because remember, when they brought Keenum in, they had no clue they were going to be able to land Dwayne Haskins. So that shows you right there that they wanted to go in with two quarterbacks. They learned from their mistake last season with the quarterback carousel, having to go, down the scrap heap to find guys. So they figured this year if we go in with Colt and he gets hurt, at least we got Keenum. Now we're in this position where we got Keenum. Hey, if he gets hurt, we got Haskins and we got the future to start building immediately.
Yeah, and that's kind of along the lines I've been thinking since the draft, which is take your time with Haskins. I don't think he's going to redshirt. We'll talk about this more on the next pod when we give our preview for the regular season. But it'll be interesting to see how many games Keenum lasts because this schedule is tough, man. The schedule is very tough. But let's go ahead to our next topic. Let's talk a little bit about Trent Williams, man. This ongoing Trent Williams saga, man. Oh, man, I just need to take a quick little deep breath because this news is starting to it's starting to wear on me, man. It's starting to wear on me. Trent Williams, man, you draft a left tackle, and your hope is that he can be your blindside protector for the next 10, 15 years. And Trent Williams has been that. He has been that. And as we all know, as Redskins fans and anyone who follows the Redskins, the national media, the way that we're viewed nationally, is as one of the more dysfunctional organizations, and not just football, but all of sports. So the way that I'm looking at this Trent Williams thing, Bruce Allen has an opportunity. And he has the opportunity to win some fans back and to win some fans over. And he can do that by doing whatever it takes to bring in Trent Williams and to get him back. Trading him, obviously you got to leave all your options on the table. If a team is going to give you more than deserved or give you a bunch of first-round picks and another great player, then, yeah, you got to hear him out for that. But if we're being honest, and I said this before, I don't think too many teams are gonna give up too much for an aging left tackle who has an injury history now. So I think the Redskins are better off served doing what they can to bring Trent Williams back. I don't see a trade getting done. What are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough. Like I said on the last pod, man, this has been the only guy throughout my entire life just about that we had on Madden in the 90s. His rating was always like 93, 94, 95. That's the only guy we ever had that reached that elite status, and he's been on the NFL top 100 year in, year out, and that lets you know that this guy's elite. And it definitely hurts that it seems like his tenure with the Redskins may be coming to an end. One thing I'll say, man, is from all reports, this is all on Bruce Allen. That's who Trent's number one issue is with. It doesn't seem like it's with Jay. It doesn't seem like it's even with Dan Snyder, the owner. It's with Bruce Allen and with the training staff. And to me, that if we don't get Bruce Allen out of here soon, I only see more problems like this. I mean, I can't stand this dude's interviews, man. This dude is like a politician he's like a politician, man. You can just feel everything he says none of it's genuine. And I'm really tired of this guy being at the helm. They actually released a picture today from the final days of camp. And it was Dan Snyder, Kyle Smith, and Jay Gruden all singing, laughing, having a good time on the sidelines watching practice. And the thing I noticed was Bruce Allen wasn't in the picture. And I feel like that's what we got to be going forward. We got Kyle Smith. Let's promote him to GM. Let's stick with Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder, we can't get rid of Dan Snyder, obviously. Let's stick with Jay for this year. But let's just get Bruce Allen out of the picture. And if he's out of the picture, maybe we can lure Trent back. You know, at this point, it almost seems like it's impossible. But I'm still holding out hope that it's just going to be – eventually it's going to be too much money for Trent to pass on. I think the biggest problem with this whole situation is that the Redskins tried to play the tough guy in the media. And that's kind of what's ruined, like that's almost broken the bridge completely. Like we've been in the media trying to act tough, trying to, say that we've been saying all the wrong things coming from the team. And at the end of the day, they just need to bite the bullet, accept that they screwed up this relationship for now, and see how they can mend it. And until that, man, I'll put it like this. I will be very, very upset as a Redskins fan if Trent Williams is not on our team going forward.
Yeah, man. I know a lot of fans out there are hoping we can trade him and get something back for him and all that. But to me, if it does end that way, that just says more dysfunctional Redskin nonsense, more dysfunctional Bruce Allen. And I don't even want to rag on Bruce Allen. I feel like he gets it from you, other pundits, other fans. Everyone rags on Bruce Allen, so I don't even like to do it, to be honest. But I will say this. I've never understood why Bruce is in the position he's in. He doesn't necessarily seem like a football guy. Like, why is he making trades or being heavy-handed in the draft? Like, to me, a GM should be a football guy, someone who knows the X's and O's, knows the players, and has good relationships with the players. Seems like Bruce Allen is the complete opposite of that. You mentioned him being a politician. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have any place in the organization. I'm sure he knows how to do business, but maybe he should stick to more of the business side and not the football side of things, because it seems whenever Bruce Allen is involved in the football side, it doesn't go very well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. Get him in. Let's have Bruce work on the stadium. Get him out of the football operations side, man. Let's get somebody, like you said, a football guy in that position.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and let's leave old Bruce alone. Let's leave this Trent Williams thing alone. It's a little depressing, if I'm being honest. But let's talk about this last preseason game before the regular season. Now, this game, I'm not really one to talk about, lower in preseason games, but the fourth preseason game to me has always been kind of pointless. I mean, no head coach in their right mind is going to play their starters in a meaningless game a week before you have a game that isn't meaningless. So it's really going to be roster bubble guys. And with that being said, Coach Gruden named Dwayne Haskins to start this Thursday, which I'm a little torn on because I think he definitely needs the more playing time, the better. But what do you think, man? Do you think it's safe to put him out there with a bunch of roster bubble guys that are – I mean, some guys, this is going to be their Super Bowl. They're going to be giving their absolute all. This might be the last time or last chance for some guys. So what do you think about Haskins starting this fourth preseason game? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it's hard for me to look at it as a bad thing, mainly because, I mean, they never really gave him a shot with the ones during the preseason thus far anyway. We thought we'd see him get a shot last game, but, he didn't. And so, I mean, this is just pretty much the guys he's been playing with all preseason. And, I mean, I'm just excited to see more growth from him. I think at this point for Haskins, it's all about gaining experience and, just getting his feet wet and continuing to get his feet wet, continue to get more and more under his belt. So I can't see this as anything but a good thing. And hopefully Haskins, to me, Haskins, each time he's gotten in this preseason, he's shown growth every time. He hasn't made the same mistakes. He's built on each game. And hopefully we just see that again in this final preseason game. We just see him, turn in a better performance than the last, which to me is kind of what this whole preseason has been about. Every performance he's had has been better than the last one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And to piggyback off of that, man, I think all I want to see from Haskins performance-wise, since he is going to play, is number one thing is stay healthy, and the number two thing, man, is just no mistakes. Run the offense smooth. I wouldn't be mad if he doesn't have any touchdowns or any big plays or anything like that. I'm more so looking for how he commands the huddle, commands the offense at the line, and just no mistakes, no turnovers, no fumbles, no interceptions. But yeah, man, I'm still a little iffy, man. If he gets hit by one of these guys that ain't gonna be on the NFL roster trying to make a name for themselves, I'm gonna have a problem with it. Gruden might be gone sooner than later if that's the case, also. But let's keep talking preseason, man. You mentioned Haskins had been playing with a lot of the same guys. So who has stood out to you other than Dwayne Haskins this preseason?
Man, this is a great question because I think we've had a good number of guys stand out so far this preseason. One guy that flashed big time to me last game was our other first round pick, Montez Sweat. I mean, we all know the measurables. We know he's 6'6". We know about the 40 time, sub 4.4. This guy is a freaky athlete, and it showed against the Falcons. I mean, he had a couple plays. Now, granted, you could tell that he's still thinking a lot out there. But at the start of the game, you could literally see the thought process. And by maybe early second quarter, it just seemed like he was flowing. He was getting into the flow of the game. And once you got a guy with that speed get into the flow of the game, you're going to get some explosive plays, and that's what ended up happening. Matt Ryan, got to feel that explosiveness a couple times. I think he had at least 2 quarterback hits, maybe 3. And Montez Sweat was flying, man. The thing I like about him the most is, like, even if he doesn't get the sack, he runs down backs. He ran down Matt Ryan creeping out of the pocket trying to get yards in the scramble. He was running down plays, and, like, that just shows a tenacity and a hustle that I feel like we've lacked at times on this team. And I feel like that type of hustle, that type of tenacity is infectious to other guys. They see that. They want to be a part of that. They want to do that too. So Montez Sweat, definitely a standout against the Falcons.
Yeah, man, I agree. I definitely like what I saw about Montez. And his size, man, makes it so he doesn't even have to get the sack or even necessarily QB hit. If he gets those arms up, you're going to adjust the whole flight path of the ball. So Montez Sweat he's gonna wreak havoc this season on a front seven that is already stacked. Do you have a standout for the offensive side?
Yeah, man, definitely. One guy that and we're all happy to see this guy back in full form. That's Darius Geis. Obviously, last season, man, we got hype after that Patriots game. We didn't think the injury was as serious as it was when it happened, but it ended up being a torn ACL. And you talking about a guy that's battled back, man. This guy rehabbed all year. It was well documented on his social media. You could see him putting the work in. And in that game versus the Falcons, you could tell that all that work he put in is paying off. The guy looked explosive. I mean, I was watching it with a buddy, and I told him, man, Geis is an automatic 4 yards, no matter what happens in the backfield, no matter what happens with the O-line. That dude's going to get you 4 yards and be looking for more after. And a couple of those runs, especially the one he had down the sideline where he lowered the shoulder, gave the dude the truck stick and spun off the initial tackle and then gave the dude the truck stick. I said, yeah, this is something we haven't really seen from the running back position, in my opinion, since a guy like Portis. That type of explosiveness, that type of, I mean, don't get me wrong, AP's got it, but at the same time, Geis has got a little more juice, man. Geis got a little more juice, and I love what I saw from Darius Geis.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree with you more on that one. I think everybody's been looking at the wrong position when it comes to battle. We got a veteran quarterback and a veteran running back. I think the veteran quarterback should start, but I think the younger running back should start. And this is no disrespect to Adrian Peterson, and I'll elaborate more on this on the next pod. But I think Darius Geis is in for a big year, man. Like you are 1,000% right when you say he's got the explosion that we haven't had since Clinton Portis. And I know we have Adrian Peterson, but this is an older version of Adrian Peterson. This isn't the AP that was on the Vikings. It's not the same guy. Darius Geis, I think they should ease him in, obviously, but Darius Geis he's gonna be the lead back, and I honestly kind of think Adrian Peterson feels disrespectful to say, but Adrian Peterson might become an afterthought. That's just my thoughts right now. He might not touch too many balls if Geis runs the way that I see Geis running.
Well, if that happens, Jay Gruden's going to get a couple of those stare downs from the sideline that AP was giving Sean Payton when he was on the Saints.
Oh yeah, he be ready for it. Be ready for it. I got a couple preseason standouts as well on defense. I'm gonna pick an easy one, man. Jimmy effing Moreland. Dude has been balling since he got drafted. I don't think he stopped. I don't think he's gonna slow down even when the season starts. And with this injury to Fabian Moreau, which they haven't released too much information out, I'm not sure if he'll be ready in time for the opener. I do not believe he's been practicing the last few days though. I could totally see Jimmy Moreland taking that slot spot and not letting it go. Like Fabian Moreau may lose his starting job due to injury and not get it back because Jimmy Moreland is the kind of player that once he gets that opportunity, he does not let it go. Even in practice when other guys were coming in, and we saw this firsthand, he'd say no. He'd tell them no. He'd tell the coach no. He's getting the work. And eventually the coach would have to just step up and just take him out, so the other guys could get the work. So Jimmy Moreland is the kind of guy that once he gets that opportunity, once he has his hands on it, he's not letting it go. And we all saw what he did in that first preseason game. He is like a ball magnet, man. So I can see him making some big plays.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more with you, man. The one thing that's really stood out to me about Moreland is his physicality, man. You wouldn't expect a guy in that small of a package to deliver that big of a hit, man. But that dude, he puts his nose in there, man. He's not afraid. He's really not afraid of contact in the least bit. So gotta love it.
Yeah, man, that was going to be the next thing I said. My only question mark on him when we were watching minicamp and training camp before preseason started was how is he gonna tackle, and that was my question mark. And I think he leads the team in tackling right now in the preseason. So yeah, Jimmy Moreland is about to be your slot corner. Mark my words. My standout player on offense, I was a little back and forth on this because there's a couple wide receivers that stand out to me, but I picked Robert Davis. And that's because even though he might not have been running the most crisp routes of all the other receivers or making the most catches, he's been in the right spot at the right time. And I don't just mean on Case Keenum's touchdown pass or Dwayne Haskins' touchdown pass. If you remember on special teams, I think it was the Falcons game, this past one, there was a fumble on a punt, and who recovered it? Robert Davis. And to me, that stood out immensely because that's how you're going to make this team with that 6 wide receiver spot, is you're going to have to be a big part of special teams. That's where you're going to make the difference, not necessarily catching passes. So I think Robert Davis has done enough to make the team in a very crowded wide receiver room. It's tough for me, though, because I also like Cam Sims a lot. But I picked Robert Davis. What are your thoughts on the wide receivers and how that's going to shake out?
Yeah, man, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, man, with Robert Davis. I mean, he's a contributor on special teams, and that's a big thing. Even on that first fumble, the first punt fumble, I think he was the first guy. He nearly got that recovery, too. I think Appy is the one that ended up with it, but Robert Davis was the first one on the ball. It just ended up squirting out of his possession. So, yeah, like, he's been balling, man. He caught the deep ball from Haskins for the touchdown against the Bengals. And, like, yeah, like you said, man, this dude, he flashed. Cam Sims flashed as well, man. Cam Sims is another guy, about 6'4", 6'5". He can make plays. And I think at this point, you got to take both of those guys on the roster. They both got to be on the active roster because they both bring something, man. They both bring a skill set that I think that, we haven't had that big receiver. We've been trying to throw fades for the past 6 seasons under Jay Gruden without the big receiver to do it. And maybe we finally get to see a couple of those fade balls successful.
Yeah, man, I've honestly been more impressed with the bottom half of the receivers than the top half. I think Robert Davis and Cam Sims will have this last preseason game will mean a lot to them. How they do in this 4th preseason game will probably determine which one of them, or maybe even both of them, like you said, makes the team. But let's keep it pushing. Let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about the NFC East, man. Last pod, we talked about Philly and how they didn't have a real backup plan and how they kept losing backup quarterbacks left and right. Well, they went out and signed Josh McCown, I believe. Do you think that is a good enough quality backup? And before you even answer that, I want to say that I think it's silly that that people are even talking about, the Eagles having to have a backup. If Carson Wentz can't stay healthy, I don't think it matters who their backup is. It's Carson Wentz or bust for Philly. But do you think McCown can help them out if need be?
No, I don't. I think that if McCown ends up being the quarterback for the Eagles, that would be a great thing for the Redskins. I mean, like McCown, we've seen what he can do. We've seen his sample size. He's never been a standout. He's got plenty of chances, and he's never ran with it. And I mean, think about it. This guy decided to retire, and he didn't retire because it was wear and tear on his body. He retired because he couldn't get a job. He couldn't get a shot. So them bringing him out of retirement, hey, more power to him. Like you said, it's Wentz or bust for the Eagles. And at this point, I mean, if you just judge off history, there's a decent chance that McCown gets in the game at some point this season. So, it's not looking good. The backup situation for the Eagles is not looking good. And, they never really valued Nick Foles as much as they should have. But, it's coming full circle now that McCown's on the team.
Yeah, man. Carson Wentz is going to have to stay healthy or Philly fans going to be mad.
Yeah, they're gonna be pissed.
Let's talk about the Cowboys. Zeke is still in Cabo. We play the Cowboys in maybe 3 weeks. So
wait. Did you say Zeke? Hold on, Zeke who?
I see what you did there. Should we be concerned about Tony Pollard? No?
No,
okay.
No, absolutely not.
Well, if Ezekiel Elliott does return back to America from Mexico and plays football for the Cowboys, I honestly will not be too concerned for week 2. Even if Zeke gets on a plane right now and he's back tomorrow, I'm not going to be too concerned for week 2 just yet. I don't think he's going to be in football shape. I'm sure he's keeping himself in great shape. I read a report, Marshall Faulk went down there to help train him. So I'm sure Zeke is doing everything that he needs to be doing. And I don't know if Jerry's going to pay him. It doesn't sound like they're going to pay him. So I think he'll be back by the time we play week 2. What do you think? Do you think we'll see Ezekiel Elliott or Tony Pollard?
I guess chances are we'll probably see Zeke. But, Zeke wants to get the money, get the big bucks. And at the end of the day, man, this is how the NFL market works. If you're one of the top 3 guys, you get, or let's say you're one of the top 5 guys, you're supposed to get the highest contract at your position in the NFL. Usually in NFL history is how it goes. And the last report that I heard was that the Cowboys offered Zeke, good money, but it wasn't, to be the top paid back. It was somewhere between the money that Gurley got and Le'Veon got. So they don't want to strap themselves down and with a big contract. And then they go back and they pay Jalen Smith to a massive deal. And I know Zeke's probably looking at that with a side eye. Like, okay, so you can pay guys, but you can't pay me. And on top of that, you got Jerry Jones saying stuff like Zeke who, making jokes and then saying he has the right to make these jokes. And, Zeke's agent came out and said, Zeke's not happy about these things, And I guess, I don't want to say the Cowboys are taking them for granted, because I do think deep down inside that Jerry Jones understands just how much Ezekiel Elliott means to that team. But I'm telling you, this is a warning to Cowboys fans, and I'm telling Redskins Nation right now, without Zeke, the Cowboys are not really a threat. That dude makes that engine run. I know they got Dak, whatever. They got Amari Cooper, whatever. They got a good D, whatever. Ezekiel Elliott makes that engine run. And literally, he's the running back that makes it run. That dude is a beast, man. And without him, people will see, man, it's not going to be the same team, because Zeke is a threat. Not only to run the rock, he catches the ball at the backfield as good as any back, and it's going to be a tough season, tough sledding for the Cowboys if they decide to go to week 4, week 5, even up to their bye without Ezekiel Elliott on the roster.
Yeah, man. Zeke is being massively underrated in my opinion. I had him top 3 out of my top 5 running backs list. He catches passes out of the backfield just as well as anyone. I think that goes under notice because he's such a big running back, and he's not necessarily as elusive as a Todd Gurley. But, he caught 70-some passes last year. That's impressive. He was one of 2 players with 2,000 all-purpose yards. So when Jerry Jones says Zeke who, and he wants to play hardball in the media and not get his guy signed, all those things are good news for Redskin Nation. But here's something that might not be good news, depending on your perception. Everyone knows that the Giants drafted Daniel Jones with the 6th overall pick, and everyone laughed at it. But looking at the preseason, Daniel Jones has looked a little bit better than Haskins, dare I say, just a little bit better. I know they've run some little simpler plays for Jones up in New York, but not judging Haskins and Jones, comparing them necessarily, but do you think New York made the right move in drafting Daniel Jones with the 6th pick?
Well, people have been making a lot of what Daniel Jones has done in the preseason. And Redskins fans, I just got a couple names for you guys: Marcus Mason, Anthony Armstrong, Colt Brennan. All these guys, you know what they were? They were preseason Hall of Famers. You know what? The preseason means so little to me, man. When I see a guy lighting up in the preseason, you know what I say? I say, prove it to me when the real games start to matter. Because at the end of the day, the preseason means nothing. Teams are running their vanilla offenses, and the teams against them are running their vanilla defenses. And we're not going to really see what Daniel Jones got until he's thrust into the fire. Not that I haven't been impressed. The dude's been playing well. But I haven't seen any crazy arm talent throws from him. I haven't really seen him split defenders on any like passes that just made my jaw drop. It's just been, corner routes, quick outs, and he's been hitting guys in stride. But I just won't be too impressed until he's able to do it in the regular season.
Yeah, man, I agree with you there. It'll be interesting because just like Haskins waiting for Keenum is going to be a little bit of the same in New York with Jones waiting to take the reins from Manning. So it'll be interesting to see if we get to see a Dwayne Haskins-Daniel Jones matchup this year or next year.
Oh, man, I didn't even think about that, bro. Their careers are going to be linked. And you got to throw Kyler in there, too. But the three of those guys' careers will be linked together for a long time, especially the way that, Daniel Jones was booed and, the way he was kind of, ran through the mud as an early pick.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm going to be very excited for the Daniel Jones-Haskins matchup. I think we will probably get to see that in December if the season goes the way I'm thinking. But we'll save some of that for the next pod. There's some big news that just happened in the NFL that we definitely got to get into. We kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but it's Andrew Luck and his retirement. Now, this set the entire sports world on fire. You had fans booing him when it happened. You have people on social media going crazy about it. A lot of people defending him and applauding his decision. Bryce, I'm going to let you start off with your thoughts on Andrew Luck and his surprise retirement.
Well, man, first thought I'd say is, I wish I would have went into Vegas and made a bet on who would have a longer career, RG3 or Andrew Luck. I never would have guessed, man, that RG3 would have a longer NFL career than Andrew Luck, and that's kind of crazy. But once you start running down the list of, injuries that Andrew Luck has had, I mean, you're talking about everything from a torn labrum to a lacerated kidney. A lacerated kidney, bro, that's kind of serious, man. That's not your usual football injury. So Andrew Luck's been through it, man. And it a lot of fans, Colt fans, they're throwing a lot of blame Andrew Luck's way. But if you want to blame anyone, blame that front office and that former general manager Ryan Grigson. I mean, for years, Andrew Luck had the worst offensive line, had the most pressures, the most quarterback hits of any quarterback in the league, and all that stuff started to add up. And when you look at a guy like Luck, he's a smart guy, and you could tell from the press conference that he put a lot of thought into his decision. This wasn't something that he probably mulled over it. The reason it probably took this long to make the decision and it came right before the season is he's probably been mulling over this for a very long time, man. It probably was really hard to get to the point where he was able to make the decision like this. And I feel for the guy, man, and at the same time, on the flip side, I feel for the fans too, because they were right there last season battling with the Chiefs, for a spot at, maybe making the Super Bowl. So, I understand what those fans are going through, and they booed him on his way out, and I know that was just a reaction. That's a reaction from a bunch of fans who just saw on their phone that their starting quarterback was retiring. But at the same time, you got to look at the flip side as a fan sometimes. These are people with lives, and they're playing a very, very violent, very, very dangerous sport. And I think for Andrew Luck, just the rehab process, constantly being injured, he said it himself, it just took the joy out of the game.
Yeah, man, I agree with you 1,000% on everything you just said. Imagine being the Indianapolis Colts, having Peyton Manning, moving on from Peyton Manning, drafting the perfect quarterback, and then never getting him an offensive line to the point that he gets beat up so much that he has to retire 7 years in. I understand why Colts fans were so frustrated. I don't even know if they were necessarily booing Andrew Luck or just booing the entire team. A lot of people say it was disrespectful for them to boo, but if you're a fan of any team, it doesn't even have to be football, it could be any sport. Imagine your star player. You don't even find out from the star player or on the video board or the team announcing it. You find out because you get an ESPN notification or whatever sports network you follow in the middle of a meaningless game talking about your best player, your star player, your guy that just replaced your other star player is retiring and he's not even 30 yet. Oh yeah, that's not a good feeling. That's not a good feeling at all. I don't blame Andrew Luck. I don't blame Andrew Luck at all. I think the way that people look at football needs to change, or the way that they look at football players needs to change. You follow boxing very much. Let's say if Andrew Luck was a fighter and he had all these injuries and he wanted to call it quits earlier, people wouldn't bat an eye. Normally that's like, oh, okay, we get it. You're a fighter. Well, this is professional football. These are grown men, like, fully, like, ripped, all the, you know what I mean? Like, they're running their bodies into each other constantly. Yeah, they got pads, yeah, they got helmets, but they are smashing into each other at full speed. Like, this is a grown man's game. So when a player of Andrew Luck status wants to retire early, you got to respect that. Even if it's not of Andrew Luck status, it could be a third-string quarterback you never even heard of. If a guy wants to retire, says he's lost the joy of playing football, because I can tell you right now, tackle football ain't flag football, all right? Tackle football ain't you throwing the ball to your cousins and your uncle at Thanksgiving and running around having a good little time. Tackle football is not that, man. It's not, you know? And I'm serious. I never played at, like, a super high level. I haven't been in the NFL. I'm not going to pretend that I have. But I have played tackle football with pads on, and I promise you, for anyone who hasn't, it is vastly different than just playing touch or contact or flag or whatever else you may play. Tackle football at full speed is a very violent sport, and anyone who says they have lost the love or the joy for it should get out immediately, because I'm telling you right now, if he would have stayed playing, that would have been a detriment to the team. That would have been a detriment to the organization. That would have let the fans down. So everyone who thinks he did it wrong, I understand the timing. The timing sucks. I agree with that a little bit. A couple weeks before the season, that's unfair timing. But like you just said, he's probably been thinking about this for a while. Like, if you watch the press conference, I don't think this was an easy decision for Andrew Luck. And I'm not even completely convinced that he might not come back. He's only 29. I'm 29. And he might just need a year or two off. Like, I know if I was beat up as much as I love football, he probably loves football even more. Maybe some time off will do him some good. Maybe the pressure of not having to rehab to get back for our next season or to get back for this season, maybe that pressure will get off of him mentally and allow his body to physically heal the way that it needs to so that he can come back and perform at a high level. Yeah, man, there's a lot that goes into it. Football is a very violent sport, and it is if you don't 1,000% love that game, there's no reason to put your body through that at all. So I applaud Andrew Luck for making his decision.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more with what you said, man. That's so real, man. And like you said, man, people that haven't played tackle football wouldn't understand how severe the game can be. On top of that, you know, like, he's not the first guy to ever come to this decision. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I can still remember when Barry Sanders, you know, hung him up. And that was like, that guy was just unreal on the football field. And he hung him up because, like, he was at the top of his game the same way Andrew Luck is, but he realized something. He realized that, you know, the wear and tear he was putting on his body wasn't equal to the joy he was getting out of the game. And when those two things don't add up, it's time to step away. On top of that, man, I think that this could start a trend, Rome. I don't know what you think, man, but low-key, bro, this could start a little trend. I mean, we saw it with Chris Borland from the Niners a few years ago. And honestly, I think the shelf life for NFL players is going to start dropping. I mean, especially as big as the money is now. You know, you're talking about huge money, life-changing money, obviously. Not that the money wasn't life-changing back then, but now it's just become astronomical. And we might see more and more guys go in the league, 7, 8-year careers, as opposed to the, you know, 12, 13, 14, 15-year careers that, you know, we were used to seeing back in the day. And I think this could really be the start in the shift to where, you know, guys are accepting that the NFL shelf life is no longer that decade career, and it might be more like 7, 8 years of playing football and get out of it while your body's still intact.
Hey, man, I honestly wouldn't be mad at that, because when you think about it, these guys that love the game so much, a lot of them have been playing for since they were 8. So the 7, 8-year NFL career that, you know, us as fans or pundits or whatever all enjoy and all get to watch are all entertained by, that's just the small sample size. These guys have been playing their whole life, you know, so all that wear and tear adds up over time. So I could totally see it going that way. And I personally wouldn't be mad about it, because the first time I ever even thought about an NFL player and what they go through was a Jerome Bettis interview, because he was one of my favorite running backs. We got the same name. So, and I always looked at him as like the big bruiser. Like, he lowers his shoulder, he trucks guys, and he's causing pain for them. But when I heard him talk about how he can't walk down the steps or how he's in all this pain, that's when it started clicking for me. This game is just flat out violent, and it doesn't matter if you're the one giving the hit or taking the hit. It's doing damage to your body, whether you realize it in that moment or not. So, yeah, any person who wants to, you know, step away from something as violent as football, I'll never diss them or feel any type of way for that. But as far as those Colts fans go, I think it was more so the timing. The timing absolutely sucked, but I don't think Andrew Luck wanted it to go this way. I think Andrew Luck, if the Colts would have done what they needed to do when they first got this golden goose that is Andrew Luck, he'd still be playing right now. Like, I think he's retiring because of the injuries. I think the injuries took the love out, not necessarily him just falling out of love with the game.
Yeah, man. Nah, I think you hit the nail on the head, bro. And I don't like it. You know, we're on Twitter, man. We're on social media, so it's like people are coming out the woodworks with these conspiracy theories that like Luck's dad, Oliver Luck, is one of the heads of the XFL. So they're saying maybe Luck's retiring to one day make a career in the XFL. Like, that's all. If you watch that press conference, man, you could see a man that was very, very thoughtful in the decision he was making. He didn't do the decision to offend anybody. He didn't want to set the organization back. That decision he made was for himself, and that's point blank, period. And you got to respect that as a man, as a person, as a human being. You got to respect that when somebody's making a decision for themselves, when someone's making a decision that they feel is the best decision, not just for, you know, their life, but for their family, for their kids, for everyone, for their wives, you know, for their spouse. Like, that's a decision that he made for the betterment of his life. So with that said, man, I got to respect it.
Yeah, man, definitely. That Andrew Luck's retirement definitely changes the landscape of the NFL and who could potentially be the AFC conference winners, maybe even our Super Bowl predictions. But we will save that for our next pod when we review the next upcoming season. But for now, I think we're going to get out of here. As always, it's been Roman Bryce. If you guys haven't downloaded the Gas Sports app, please check that out. It's available on all platforms. And, Bryce, you got any final thoughts?
Hey, man, just, you know, getting ready for this last preseason game. I know we'll be watching. I know a lot of fans aren't going to care about it, but there's some interesting, you know, position battles that we've talked about, including that wide receiver battle. That's going to be good to watch. And maybe we'll have a little short for you guys on the social media, just giving you an update on what we think about those final position battles heading into the final preseason game.
Yes, and most definitely stay tuned to Health of the Culture. We will be having some guests coming up. This season is going to be a big season for us, man. We will have all your Redskin information and much, much more. Health to the Culture, man. We're out.
Free world. Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking to stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so weak. Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking to stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so. Snuff the shooter, snuff the looter, snuff the booster, snuff the money mover. Snuff the hater, snuff the player, snuff your hairline, tape up and shape up.